It all kicks off in the year 267, with the demon race conquering all of human territory. In the midst of all this destruction, the sole survivors are protagonist, Chen, an SS rank assassin. But this whole mess started 7 years ago, when several demon kings appeared out of thin air. Lan Yue, one of these kings, mocks humanity, calling them pathetic and fragile trash. He then gets ready to end it all, saying it's time for Chen to fulfill his one true purpose. A seriously sinister red energy begins to form in the demon king's hand. His intention is crystal clear: to devour our hero and absorb all of his power. Without a moment's hesitation, he unleashes a powerful attack straight at our boy. However, as he's being swallowed by the energy, Chen remembers his sister and his comrades. He also recalls his master and all the dear people he's lost. Filled with rage, our hero screams that it was the demons who took everyone from him. That's why he swears he'll drag the demon king down with him, even if it's the last thing he ever does. So, our protagonist activates his ultimate skill, Tumminus Arc, and unleashes an insane amount of energy. The demon king is in total shock, completely unable to move against such overwhelming power. Meanwhile, Chen's body glows intensely, preparing to blow up and take everything with him. As his body explodes, he remembers his sister, covered in wounds. Right after, the image of his master also flashes through his mind. And finally, he recalls his parents during a happy moment from his childhood. Our hero laments not being strong enough to protect them all. Amidst the light, the demon king curses the human race for being able to pull something like this off. Chen then regrets not finding the demon's lair sooner, because if he had, he wouldn't have lost everything so quickly. After the explosion, everything goes dark until a small light appears in the middle of nowhere. Suddenly, our protagonist's eyes fly open, and he's completely confused. He realizes he's lying in a bed in an unfamiliar room. Sitting up, he's shocked and wonders, wait, aren't I supposed to be gone? On top of that, he looks around, trying to figure out just where in the world he's ended up. Curious, our boy heads to the window to take a peek outside, and to his surprise, he sees that he's in a school infirmary. This leaves him totally clueless, since he remembered the world being a complete wreck. After a while, our protagonist finally accepts his new reality, because somehow he's gone back 10 years to his college days. Suddenly, a strange sound wave materializes in front of him out of thin air. Right after, a screen announces that the power of gluttony has been successfully integrated. He then grabs a phone and confirms the date, seeing that it's May 16th. And that's when our hero realizes he's back in the year 2157. In other words, he's 3 years before the arrival of the demon kings. Our boy remembers that in 3 years, the first demon, named Wrath, will appear. And that was the guy who opened the gates of the underworld for the other demons to come through. This was the starting point for the total destruction of humanity, and it was also the reason he lost every single person he loved. But now that he's back, things can be different, because if he defeats Wrath, he can stop the gates of the underworld from ever opening. However, he pauses and wonders what this power of gluttony interface is all about, since this weird screen has been floating in front of him ever since he woke up. Our hero touches the screen, and it opens up to display a bunch of information. It reads Xiaozhou level 1, and all his stats are at 100. He's confused because he's never seen anything like this before. In the past, he only fought using his awakened power, which was super rare, and the university he attends only recruits potential awakened students. But in his past life, he didn't awaken and just became everyone's punching bag. Suddenly, the screen in front of him starts glitching out. Then it displays a thunderous assign card with all the details. Our boy recognizes it instantly as his class from his past life. He feels a power flowing through him and wonders if he inherited his old strength. Just then, the card of his former class is left floating in front of him. All of a sudden, the door to the room bursts open with a loud noise, and the one who enters is Melong, an E rank flower enchanter. His friend rushes in worried, asking if Chen is feeling better already. He says yes and realizes that he's the only one who can see the floating interface. Mai Long is shocked to see that all of his friend's injuries have vanished. our protagonist then remembers that this is Ma Long, his roommate. He recalls that in his past life, Ma Long passed away on the third day of the invasion, but seeing his friend standing right there, he knows for sure that he really is back. Suddenly, Ma Long remembers the ranking test and pulls Chen along to get ready. He says that even without awakening, the test is important for graduation and drags him away. Meanwhile, we see the university courtyard with a beautiful sunset in the background. Across campus, several students are training their awakened abilities. Some are even using their free time to play a game of soccer. Our hero then remarks that it's been a while since he's seen so many living people. Ma Long gets totally freaked out by this weird talk and tells him to get a move on. But Chen can only think about how he once lost absolutely everything. And if he doesn't do something, that future of despair is just going to repeat itself. That's why he decides he needs to act immediately and level up fast. Because in this era, the only way to level up is by taking out monsters in dungeons. The problem is, almost all the demon dungeons are controlled by the major guilds. So, our hero looks at his stats and thinks about how he stacks up against other awakened students. Based on his experience, he tries to guess what his rank would be in the test. And looking at his friend, he's certain that he's way stronger than him. But out of nowhere, a basketball flies out and smacks Ma Long right in the face. The impact sends the poor guy falling to the ground before he even knows what hit him. Right after, a group of guys sitting on the stairs recognizes the two of them. Their leader then comments that they recovered pretty quick from last time. Ma Long gets scared stiff and says they just had some really bad luck. Meanwhile, our protagonist just stands there, staring down the group of bullies. Their leader smirks and says he told them the two boys were pretty tough. Then he complains that they should have brought drinks, since they knew he was going to be playing. Ma Long panics and immediately says he'll run and buy the drinks. However, our boy stops him, saying it's not his fault at all, because as he looks at the bully, our hero remembers a few things from the past. He remembers when the guys would shove his head underwater, claiming they were helping him. Back then, the bully and his gang would beat him mercilessly, and even though he was scared, Ma Long always tried to defend him, but it didn't do much good. Their leader, named Zhou Zheng, would even ask why he should stop. According to him, it was help to stimulate our hero's awakening, and while our boy suffered, the other idiots just laughed at the situation. After he passed out, the guys got bored and simply left. Then, Ma Long would rush over to help his friend, who was all beaten up on the ground. Our protagonist would cry, wondering why they would never leave them alone. With this memory, he realizes that evil doesn't just exist in demon dungeons. It's also right here in the human world, with guys like them. Back in the present, Zhou Zheng repeats that they should have brought drinks. Ma Long, once again terrified, offers to go buy them right away. But our hero stops him and says that they're the ones who should be apologizing. The bully is confused, not understanding this new attitude at all. Ma Long gets desperate and asks what in the world our hero is saying. Then, Gongcheng, an E-rank flower warrior, approaches with his hands glowing. But our protagonist stares back at him with a cold, determined look. He remembers that this guy only acts tough because of his older brother. Meanwhile, the gossiping onlookers are already starting to comment on the beef. They mock the two, calling them the useless weaklings of the school. Gong Chen gets right up in our hero's face, not looking friendly at all, and in a threatening tone, he asks what our boy just said. Very calmly, our protagonist simply tells him to stop bothering them. The bully gets furious and yells that he needs another beatdown as he winds up a punch. However, our hero blocks the attack with absurd ease. The punch stops mid-air, leaving Gong Cheng completely stunned. The crowd watching has their jaws on the floor, unable to believe what just happened. After all, everyone there knew that our protagonist hadn't even awakened yet. Annoyed, the bully curses our boy and asks if he dares to challenge him. Our hero then smirks and says he's going to test out his new powers on the bully. The class change is complete, and he becomes an electric assassin with buffed stats. Ma Long's jaw drops as he asks when his friend awakened. Meanwhile, Our protagonist stands there with yellow lightning crackling around his body. Gong Chen isn't fazed and activates his indestructible demon armor. He then yells that he's going to show him what his fist tastes like and charges forward. But our boy dodges with ease and prepares a swift counterattack. And with a clean punch, he lands a solid hit right on the bully's face. The impact is so strong that the guy is sent flying. The crowd and Malong are in absolute shock at the unbelievable scene. Lying on the ground, Gong Chen curses and accuses our hero of a cheap shot. He then yells at his friends, asking if they're just going to stand there and watch. However, one of them is so scared he can barely speak, because our protagonist now looks pretty intimidating. Seeing this, another bully gets enraged and charges, yelling that he's going to finish him. But our hero grabs the guy's arm with ease, stopping the attack, and with his hand glowing yellow, he twists the bully's wrist, who screams in pain. Our protagonist then stares him down and says he's too weak to take him on. Next, he lands a solid punch right in the middle of the guy's face. The force of the blow is so strong that both of them are thrown backward. The bully slams into a concrete bench and gets knocked out cold, and with his face all busted up, he lies there on the ground, not moving a muscle. Seeing this, the other cronies run off with their tails between their legs. Mao Long is still standing there with his mouth wide open, unable to believe what just happened. He wonders when his friend got so incredibly strong. Our hero then looks at his stats and comes to a couple of quick conclusions. The first is that he can turn into an electric assassin whenever he wants, and the second is that even at level 1, he's already stronger than an E ranker. However, his exact rank is still a mystery, and there is another problem, because even after the fight, his stats didn't go up one bit. He then wonders if, to gain experience, he needs to finish off his opponents. Meanwhile, Ma Long and the crowd are screaming desperately for him to stop. But our hero ignores them and brings a lightning blade to the bully's neck, because he's wondering if the way to gain experience is the same as it was in the past. And without hesitation, he prepares to end the guy's life once and for all. However, a female voice interrupts him, saying that's enough. This is Lan Yue, the vice president of the student council, and she thinks the punishment fits the crime. She even guarantees that after this, the guy won't lay a finger on him again. So, our boy lets the bully go, who drops to the ground, all beaten up and unconscious. Our hero thinks that he wasn't really going to do anything, but he needed to put a stop to it, because if people like them aren't intimidated, they'll never stop being a pain in the neck. The other cronies who were watching from a distance are now terrified. Shocked, they watch the two school losers walk away together. Meanwhile, Lan Yue watches the two of them leave with a smile on her face. Later that night, we see the university's men's dorm. In the dorm, Ma Long is trying to convince the others that Chen really did awaken. He tells them that our hero wiped the floor with Gong Chen, and now the gang won't even look at them. But his roommate Shang Zuo, an E-rank core mage, doubts the whole story. He then grabs Ma Long and asks why someone so strong would even need to train. Another roommate, Shang Yu, a flower enchanter, also thinks Ma Long has lost his mind. They complain that they're all in the same dorm because they're the 4 worst students of the year. Xiang Zhou brags that he's the only combat type there, which makes him number 1. He thinks Chen is weak and already feels strong enough to join a club. Shang Yu, on the other hand, reminds them that the ranking test is tomorrow and everything will be clear then. Meanwhile, in an E-ranked demon training dungeon, an imposing, well-dressed figure steps out of the energy portal. This is Gong Ting, the student council president and the bully's brother. He then informs his team that the day's training is over. His team bows as he turns away with a serious look in his eyes. Leaving the dungeon, he finds his brother, Gong Cheng, all bandaged up and waiting for him. With his face all busted up, Gong Cheng complains to his older brother. The council president simply replies that he understands the situation, and with a cold glare, he promises that he will take care of this for his brother. Elsewhere, Gong Ting and Lan Yue are having dinner at a fancy place. The young woman then asks how he plans to deal with our protagonist. The president questions if our hero is really as strong as everyone says. Lan Yue reminds him that less than 10 students in the whole school have reached D rank, and since the others don't have access to the dungeons, they'll never catch up to his level. Meanwhile, our boy is training hard, running under a heavy downpour. He's running 20 kilometers with 100-kilogram weights on his back because basic training improves and awakens its physical strength. But even with all this effort, he knows he's still far from ideal because he remembers that in the year 2160, the Demon King Wrath appeared, and it was on that day that his only relative, his sister, ended up losing her life. On top of that, it was this demon who opened the gates of the underworld for the others. With his face drenched by the rain, our hero sets his first major goal, which is nothing less than taking down the Demon King Wrath, because he knows the demon will only get stronger over the next 3 years. Suddenly, his phone starts vibrating in his jacket pocket. He pulls out the device and sees that he's getting an important call. And to his surprise, the person calling is his sister, Yun, who he thought was long gone. With trembling hands, he answers the call, not knowing what to say. On the other end of the line, she asks why he called so many times. She continues, super excited, saying that if she wins an award, it'll solve their rent problem. But she notices his silence and asks why he isn't saying anything. With tears in his eyes, our boy thinks that it's nothing serious. He then tells her it's just been a long time since he's heard her voice. His sister is confused and says they saw each other 2 days ago, then quickly hangs up. After the call, our protagonist understands that now everything has truly started over. So he goes back to running with even more determination to get stronger as fast as possible. And it's to protect all of this that he's pushing himself so hard. Back in the dorm, he takes a shower and feels himself adapting to his younger body. Now in his bathrobe, our hero starts thinking about his next step, because to level up, he needs to enter the demon dungeons, which are all controlled. So he wonders how he's supposed to fight monsters if he can't get access. And as he's thinking, he remembers the mysterious power of gluttony. Suddenly, the gluttony system starts to load and pulls his consciousness inside. Our protagonist then begins free, falling through this weird digital space. He's dragged downward at high speed by a red energy, until he lands in a bizarre place in front of a giant tower. Utterly confused, he wonders where he is, since he had just gone to bed. Our hero was sound asleep when he got yanked by a weird force into some bizarre place. He then lands in a gloomy setting with a giant, creepy tower right in front of him. The guy is totally confused, wondering where he is since he was just sleeping a minute ago. On top of that, he's just staring at the structure, asking himself what that tower is all about. Suddenly, strange sounds start up, and weird creatures begin crawling out of the ground. A screen then pops up, identifying the critters as E-rank deathhounds. Our protagonist then realizes he might be inside a demon lair. Immediately, a system window announces that his class is changing as lightning shoots from his hand. The switch then completes, and he becomes a lightning assassin, deciding to take care of the monsters. He then easily dodges an attack from one of the hounds as it lunges at him. Right after, our hero counters with a powerful kick to the creature. As soon as the beast is defeated, he gets 3 items called Forest of Death. With his current strength, he continues the fight without any trouble. Chen realizes that dealing with these E-rank monsters is now a piece of cake. That's how he knows this isn't a dream, earning a solid 52 experience points. With that, our boy levels up to level 2 and is happy he can grind here. His stats confirm he's at level 2, with a 5-point boost to every attribute. Our protagonist finally understands he got a whole demon lair all to himself. Then a larger creature appears, and he decides to use this place to test his limits. And just like that, he attacks the monster, gaining experience and leveling up to level 3. After the battle, a strange message appears over the defeated monster's body. Our hero is completely baffled by what he's seeing. He then reads the word devourable and starts to wonder what that even means. Right after, a bright light starts glowing in the palm of his hand. He then asks himself if this could be the true power of gluttony. Next, a red energy sucks the monster's essence right into his hand. Our protagonist then clenches his fist, absorbing all of the creature's power. With that, the monster is transformed into a card containing all its information. Chen realizes he can devour his enemies and turn them into his own classes. He's floored, because this ability is exactly what he needed. Our hero then remembers when he first activated this mysterious power, and he also recalls the Demon King he faced in the future. That power was actually the ability of the Demon King Lan Yue. Now he gets it. The power of gluttony belonged to the king, and he stole it for himself. Normally, people can only have one class, with its own strengths and weaknesses. However, our boy now possesses two classes at the same time. He then thinks that if he can keep devouring other monsters, he could have infinite classes and limitless power. With this new reality, he wonders why he was given this power, and also what the purpose of that demonic tower behind him could be. Suddenly, an overwhelming force throws him backward. Our protagonist feels an intense pressure and wonders what the heck is going on. Then a sinister figure at the top of the stairs says he's finally arrived and that he's been waiting. The skeletal being in a hood then calls him by his name, Chen. The government ranks awakeners and monsters by combat power, from E rank to S rank. Meanwhile, our boy can barely stay on his feet against the enemy's aura. He remembers that in his past life he almost reached S rank, but now he's a D rank at best. However, the big boss in front of him is an S rank monster, and the power gap is absurd. Chen doesn't get how a lair like this has such a strong creature that also knows his name. Even after they've traded several blows, he knows the enemy has had plenty of chances to end it. Still, the monster just hits him hard, sending our hero flying. Lying on the ground, he realizes the enemy is avoiding his vital spots and just knocking him down again. The boss then stares him down and asks if he's going to keep resisting. With his body all bruised up, our boy understands the monster wants him to surrender. The being then offers him a choice: guard the demon tower alongside him. But with a determined look, our hero thinks there's no way he's staying in this hellhole. As a result, the boss attacks him with a beam of light that pierces right through his body. Our protagonist is in total shock from the serious wound he just received. The monster then asks if he thought he wouldn't be eliminated, saying he was only patient because he was the only one capable of getting there. Right after, the boss's energy begins to spread and enter the fallen monsters. The boss unleashes a dark energy and asks for the last time. He gives him the choice: stay or be mercilessly crushed. However, our hero, with lightning coursing through his body, has already made up his mind. He yells that his choice is to finish the monster right here and now. The creature finds it all ridiculous and charges forward, weapon in hand. Our boy then manages to block the boss's attack, and with a confident look, he gets ready for his next move. Because during the fight, he managed to notice a pattern in his enemy. Before each strike, the monster takes 0.4 seconds. This allows him to predict the trajectory and successfully dodge the blade. On top of that, after each attack, there's a 0.2-second delay, so he's going to aim for that opening while the enemy is defenseless. And with a lightning blade, our hero pierces the boss's heart. Even though it's not a fatal blow, the attack paralyzes the monster for a few seconds. Since the enemy is way too fast, he activates Lightning God to get away, because those few seconds are all he needs to escape. As he runs, he says he's been watching the only source of light in the place. And as he gets closer, our protagonist reaches his hand out for the exit. But to his surprise, the light source simply vanishes. The boss then reveals it was just an illusion, and that this place isn't a lair. The boss is impressed that he found his opening so quickly. He then reveals himself as Purgatory Rakshasa, an S-rank warrior. Our protagonist recognizes this form from the Demon King Lan Yue. The monster says that even in desperation, he can still analyze everything. This makes him remember his final battle against the Demon King. On that day, Lan Yue transformed into a powerful ice demon, and also into a giant ice dragon that attacked him without mercy. He remembers the king switching between various high-rank classes, including a plant-like form with tentacles everywhere, and even a creature of light with an insane amount of power. Our hero remembers all those different forms very well, and he's positive that one of them was exactly like the monster in front of him. It was the exact appearance of the Rakshasa he was fighting. Chen then figures out that the Rakshasa was devoured by the power of gluttony, and since the power is now in his body, he understands that the entire place is inside him. The monster praises his sharp mind and declares him worthy of everything there. Our protagonist is confused and wonders what he means by that. Suddenly, an SS rank key called the Key of the Void appears. The Rakshasa then says this is the key to the demonic tower. He reveals that the strongest demons devoured by Lan Yue are sealed inside. The monster tells him to devour the others and use them all as fuel. Our hero then takes the key and asks why he's helping him. He explains that even among demons, there's good and evil, and the king slaughtered his people. That's why he's waited for revenge, and now our boy is his only chance. Chen is confused and asks who he's talking about. But the Rakshasa just says that all the answers are hidden inside the tower. The monster then offers his own power, so Chen can make the kings pay. Our boy is stunned and repeats the offer, not believing his ears. The Rakshasa then shouts that from now on he must become unstoppable. He warns that the demons inside won't be as easy as he was. That's why he must endure it all and conquer every one of them until he reaches the top of the world. Until he finally devours every single one of the demon kings, without exception. Because only a man with that much determination, with that kind of unbreakable resolve, is worthy of receiving his power. And with that, the monster vanishes. The Rakshasa's energy then floats and enters our protagonist's hand. With that, the system announces he has devoured the power and leveled up to level 10. With a serious look, our hero understands everything and accepts the monster's will. Then the Rakshasa's card appears, and he swears he will make the kings pay. Right after all that, our boy finally wakes up in his room. With a loud voice waking everyone up, our hero slowly opens his eyes. He then sits up in his bed, still trying to process what just happened. Meanwhile, his roommates are rushing around so they won't be late for the test. Looking at himself, he notices his injuries are gone and wonders if it was all a dream. However, his system screen proves it was real, since even the loot he got came back with him. Now at level 10 and with all stats at 150, he wonders what his rank is. Suddenly, Shang Zuo walks up and calls his name with a mocking tone. He says with a smirk that he heard rumors that Chen got super strong. His friend Malong gets all nervous as he listens to the taunt. Shang Zuo then accuses him of trying to steal his spot as the strongest in the dorm. With a serious look, our hero stares down the guy challenging him to the ranking test. On the way, Shang Zuo eats a snack while showing off to the others. He explains that everyone there is a low E rank, but he considers himself a medium E rank. A chart then shows that each rank has 3 tiers, and the difference between them is huge, and so the group heads to the test while Shang Zuo brags that his rank must have gone up. Getting closer, his friend Malong encourages him to aim for D rank just to scare the cocky guy. Our protagonist just thinks to himself about his friend's suggestion, and so they continue walking through the university courtyard. Soon, all the students gather in front of the stage for the testing ceremony. However, Shang Zuo gets spooked when he sees Gong Cheng's cronies approaching. With a threatening look, one of the goons says they'd better stay away. Suddenly, Shang Zuo and Malong get scared as the guys are staring right at them. Our hero just stands there with a calm expression as he's being watched. Then the goons get terrified and start breaking out in a cold sweat. A moment later, they run over and bow to big brother Chen. Shang Zuo is shocked and wonders why they're being so respectful. Meanwhile, our protagonist just walks past them without paying them much mind. Suddenly, a voice gets his attention with a provocative tone. This is Jiang Jan, a student council member who heard about the incident. He then points out that Gong Cheng is the younger brother of the president, Gong Ting. From a distance, Chen's friends recognize Jiang Jan from the council. They get worried because the guy is a powerful D rank and the president's right-hand man. Jiang Jan says he has a great sense of smell for spotting powerful people from afar. But he gets closer and says that all he smells from our hero is a pathetic stench. Our protagonist then calmly asks if he's some kind of dog. The guy gets furious at the comeback and yells, asking what he just said. Suddenly, a serious voice tells Jiang Jan to stop immediately. It's the president, Gong Ting, who says he has already investigated the details of what happened. He states that it's only fair to pay the price for doing something wrong, and keeps walking. And with a cold stare, he glances at our protagonist as he passes by him. Our hero just stares back at the president with a cold, determined look. Soon, a professor on stage announces that the ranking test will begin shortly. Meanwhile, Gong Ting and Zhang Jian get ready, and the president thinks our hero is no threat. Far away, someone is watching the whole ceremony from a high window, and a woman is asked what brings her to watch the test. With a smile, the blonde woman just says that the test might be very interesting. Back at the arena, the next one to be tested is Shang Zuo, and his friends cheer him on. With a confident look, he says he's finally going to see his true strength. And so the guy enters the testing portal to begin his evaluation. The test is conducted individually inside a training demon lair. Inside, there's a demon heart capable of absorbing the student's energy. The awakener then needs to release all their energy in front of the heart. The energy flows at full force into the core, which absorbs it completely. The heart then transmits the sensed energy to external equipment through cables. And so the machine outside begins to process all the received data. Finally, the energy is displayed on the screen, and Shang Zuo's result is medium E rank. The professor notes the result, but wonders why the other data hasn't shown up yet. In the audience, Malong gets anxious and says the main event is coming up, because besides the current grade, the test can also measure each person's potential. And right after, Shang Zuo's potential result appears as C. With the test complete, Shang Zuo is disappointed for not having improved in 2 years, and so he sits on the stairs, all depressed, while his friends console him. The results show that everyone from the dorm is E rank with C potential. Suddenly, everyone is startled by the first D rank result of the year. A girl reaches low D rank with B potential, leaving the audience in shock. Sometime later, Zhang Jian comes out of the test with a low D rank and a potential. Shang Zuo comments that this is already the 8th D rank, surprising his friends. The professors are impressed with so much talent, even without any combat experience. Finally, it's time for the next person, and all eyes turn to the stage. And the name announced is Gong Ting, the president of the student council. The crowd goes wild with the arrival of the young master of the Imperial Guild. Everyone knows he reached D rank 2 years ago and wonders how far he can go. Inside the lair, the demon heart begins to pulse, waiting for the test. The heart then opens, revealing a giant eye that stares at Gong Ting. The president approaches and touches the heart with an air of superiority. He thinks he'll hold back some of his power to make a big splash at graduation. But even so, he vows that he will be #1 in the school's history. Soon, the meter starts to show the results of the president's test. The professor finds the yellow color appearing on the potential meter. Strange. And to everyone's astonishment, Gong Ting reaches high D rank with S potential. The crowd goes absolutely insane over the president's high D rank and S potential result. Zhang Jian and his cronies yell that he's the first in the school's history to achieve this. Malong is shocked and jealous because they just witnessed history being made. The professors confirm the result and decide to report it to their superiors immediately. After all, an awakener with S potential is a rare treasure that will be protected by the state. Gong Ting just smirks, basking in all the glory of his impressive result. Up above, the university's director comments that many talented individuals have emerged this year. Director Yuan Long then says that the young lady already knew about Gong Ting's S potential. However, she denies it, stating that she didn't come just to watch his test. With a smile, she says she's more excited about someone else's performance. And just like that, the next person to be tested is announced in the arena for all to hear. The name Chen echoes through the place, and he gets ready for his turn. Zhang Jian walks up and tells our hero to bring some honor to their dorm. And with a laugh, he yells for the result, not to be another low E rank. He even calls everyone in the dorm weaklings who would be a disgrace at graduation. Malong can't take it, and yells that Chen is going to blow his mind with his power. Our protagonist then enters the testing portal, unfazed by the taunts. In the audience, Shang Zuo watches with concern, wondering if he can really pull it off. Inside the lair, our hero floats in front of the demon heart to be evaluated. The heart's giant eye then opens and seems surprised as it stares at our boy. With an intense gaze, our hero stares back at the demon heart without fear. For most, the only chance to prove their worth is at the graduation combat assessment. The squad that takes first place will have all its members recruited by the Imperial Guild. That's why the ranking test isn't just to determine everyone's classification. Zhang Jian introduces the new member of his team, a low D rank named Yan Lin. With him, the president's 10-man team is complete, with 9 D ranks. Thus, the test becomes crucial for finding the best teammates for the assessment. In this environment, a stronger team inevitably emerges, and the MVP will be the president. And of course, along with the strongest team, the weakest team also forms. Malong gets worried and wonders how long Chen has been in there. The crowd starts making fun, saying his power is so pathetic it's not even registering. Zhang Jian says the ones left are trash, and tells the president they should go for some karaoke. Gong Ting agrees and tells him to call the rest of the team so they can go together. Suddenly, the ranking machine starts to display the test results. And to everyone's amazement, Chen reaches high D rank. His dorm friends are left with their jaws on the floor at the unexpected result. Malong excitedly yells that he knew his friend was strong all along. Gong Ting and Zhang Jian are stunned by our protagonist's high D rank. Meanwhile, inside the lair, an error message appears on the system. Our hero then realizes that his base level 10 is already equivalent to a high D rank. With a blue glow in his eyes, our hero begins to switch classes. He then transforms into the Hell Death King to test his weakest devoured class. Suddenly, the rank meter starts to flicker and show a new result. And to everyone's surprise, his rank climbs to medium C rank, leaving the audience in shock. Malong and his friends scream in disbelief, wondering what on earth is happening. Gong Ting gets furious and says C rank is nonsense and the machine must be broken. The professors are also confused and wonder if the system is malfunctioning. Meanwhile, the demon heart starts to tremble and sweat in fear of his power. Our hero then deduces that his other classes must be well above C rank, and so he switches classes again to the Purgatory Rakshasa to see his full power. The demon heart's eye widens in terror as it feels the new energy. Suddenly, the sky darkens and purple clouds form, creating a giant vortex. All the students look up, frightened by the bizarre phenomenon in the sky. Gong Ting and Zhang Jian are speechless, unable to understand what's happening. Chen's friends say that a divine monster has been born in their dorm. Meanwhile, the potential meter starts to glitch and show a new result. And to the astonishment of everyone, our protagonist's potential reaches S rank. The professor shouts in shock, wondering how there can be another S potential. Gong Ting is completely floored and speechless by what he's seeing. And right after, the meter displays a danger warning along with the S result. The potential meter begins to malfunction and shows a system error. Soon, the potential becomes undetectable and exceeds the system's maximum load. Zhang Jian screams in despair, his nose bleeding from the sheer shock. And just like that, the meter explodes into 1,000 pieces along with the big screen. The professors freak out, yelling that the demon heart is overloaded. They rush inside the lair to make sure nothing happens to the student. Inside, the professor is shocked by the scene he finds. The demon heart is completely lifeless and destroyed. The professors wonder if the heart burned out from overuse. Our hero thinks he overdid it with the power and accidentally broke the heart. He realizes that the power of gluttony can even devour the core of a machine. With the exquisite demon heart activated and glowing in his eyes, our protagonist can now see everyone's true rank. With his eyes glowing a shade of green, he analyzes the crowd. And that's how he discovers that Gong Ting was also hiding his real strength. The professor then announces that today's test is suspended, and that Chen's data was likely a system error. His friends surround him, calling him a genius, not caring about the data. Zhang Jian walks over and says it was obvious the whole thing was a machine failure, and angrily, he accuses our hero of breaking the heart and dodging responsibility. With yellow lightning crackling from his hand, our hero grabs Zhang Jian's arm. He then thinks that the guy is a total pain and wonders if he should cripple him. However, Gong Ting tells Zhang Jian to stop and not to disrespect their new teammate. The guy is shocked by the word teammate coming from the president. Gong Ting then invites our hero to join his squad. He even promises that the highest score in history will belong to them. In the audience, Malong is stunned that the president personally invited Chen. Meanwhile, Zhang Jian worries that if he joins, someone will get kicked out. Besides, he wonders what right our hero has to join the team. But since it was Gong Ting himself who said it, he can't disobey. So with a forced smile, he welcomes our boy to the team. However, Chen slaps his hand away and says he's not interested. The sudden refusal leaves Zhang Jian and the president completely surprised. The guy then yells that their team is #1 in the school. Our hero just says that has nothing to do with him and that it's too much noise. Zhang Jian gets so furious, he starts fuming. The crowd can't believe Chen dared to refuse the president's invitation. And so everyone speculates that he wants first place all to himself. His friends find the scene hilarious and comment on his guts. However, Gong Ting says it's all right because brother Chen has his own ideas. In the university courtyard, several students walk around casually after the test. Up above, Director Yuan Long regrets that the two didn't form a team, but the blonde woman says it's more interesting to watch this way. She explains that Gong Ting was born with a silver spoon, and the rejection is a declaration of war. A young man by her side agrees, saying the president is not an easy person to deal with. Zhang Jian is still furious, and says our hero only got attention because of an error. Gong Ting then wonders if the test was wrong after all and decides not to risk his first-place spot. Zhang Jian offers to teach Chen a lesson on the president's behalf. Gong Ting asks if he sees him as such a petty person, and the guy apologizes. He then says he's not in the mood for karaoke, and tells the others to go by themselves. And with a serious look, he states that whatever they do has nothing to do with him. Zhang Jian gets the message, and with a wicked smile, says it has nothing to do with him. 10 minutes later, he finds out that Chen is no longer at the school. A goon informs him that he heard our hero say he was going home for a bit. With a sinister smile, Zhang Jian realizes the heavens are on his side, and so he decides it will be more convenient to deal with our boy outside of school. Meanwhile, our protagonist walks calmly down the street. Listening to music, he remembers that in his past life, a top-tier guild team suffered an accident. Inside a lair, they encountered a powerful demon never seen before. This demon was Wrath, who annihilated the entire team and descended upon the human world. In this life, he has formulated a plan to quickly find the lair of Wrath. And to start, he needs a large sum of money. The Mithril Monster Exchange will become the biggest in the country in the future, and it's essential for buying and selling Awakener equipment. Plus, it's the fastest way for our hero to get cash right now. He then hands some fangs to the appraiser, who is surprised. Our protagonist explains that they were dropped by a monster. A female employee then recognizes them as Sangsen Fangs, an E-rank monster item. The woman explains that the fangs can be made into scepters or powder, but the appraiser says it's normal not to recognize such small E-rank items. He complains that he's been getting very few high-level clients recently, and with a dismissive attitude, he decides to push the task onto the rookie. So he passes the procedure to Little Lee and leaves with some excuses. The young woman then hands the money to our boy and asks if he needs anything else. With the 18,000, he can solve his rent problem for now. A moment later, a purple energy starts coming from his hand, and he summons a massive sword, asking the woman to take a look. She's amazed by the giant, super cool sword in front of her. She says she's never seen anything like it but feels it's at least a B rank or even an A. The appraiser scoffs, complaining that A-rank weapons are worth millions and he's never seen one. Suddenly, a man in a suit appears and says the young man is right. As the equipment is not B or A rank, the appraiser is thrilled, thinking his boss agrees with him about the item. However, the boss states that the sword is from the Purgatory lands and is an S-rank item. The appraiser and the young woman then scream in shock, unable to believe what they just heard. Immediately, the boss shakes our hero's hand with a smile on his face, and so he welcomes him as a distinguished guest, leaving the appraiser dumbfounded. He then invites him to the VIP room and tells him to ask for whatever he wants. Our protagonist then thinks with a smile that he finally showed up. And so we find out that the name of the boss of this place is Qing Ji. Inside the VIP room, the manager serves a special tea for the distinguished guest. With that, Tindy asks what our hero's plans are for the equipment. Our protagonist then calmly replies that he needs 1 million. The manager is completely shocked and asks if he heard right, just 1 million. He then explains that a weapon of that level is worth tens of millions on the market. But the boy clarifies that he wants to use the sword as collateral for a 1-month loan. The manager is dumbfounded, wondering what kind of student would think of something like this. He speculates whether the young man is a wealthy heir or a prodigy, as he is anything but ordinary. Our hero then says he will pay it all back at once, with 10% interest the following month. The manager understands the situation and asks the employee to leave them alone for a moment. Alone with the boy, he starts putting the pieces together and says that if he's not mistaken, Tindy deduces that our protagonist is a senior from the National University, about to graduate. He knows that the graduation combat exam is in 1 month, and the prize is 1 million. With a smile, the manager looks at him and asks if he's confident he'll take first place. Our hero remains silent with a serious look, confirming the man's suspicions. The manager then concludes that he needs the money for something very urgent and critical. With that, he fully understands the situation and decides to make a bet. So, he offers 1.5 million in cash, interest-free for 1 month. The manager extends his hand and tells him to consider it a gesture of friendship between them. Our protagonist is a little surprised by the man's generous offer. The manager assures him that he'll keep everything a secret and hopes to do more business in the future. Our hero is impressed by the man's sharp mind and understands why he will become number 1. He then shakes the manager's hand, knowing he can't defeat the wrath alone. With that, he seals the deal and understands that he needs reliable allies to win. Then, the boy places his hand on a magical contract scroll to make it official. Soon, the contract is sealed, and our hero receives a notification for 1,500,000. The manager then asks what he will use for the graduation exam and offers to lend him some equipment. He mentions that he doesn't have any S-rank items, but has several A and B rank ones available. But the protagonist refuses the offer as particles of light begin to form in his hand. With that, he summons another identical sword, making it clear he already has a weapon to use. The manager and the employees are completely stunned by the scene, not believing what they're seeing. And so, our hero says his goodbyes and leaves. While Tindy calls him a true hero, the manager then promotes the employee, Xiao Li, for managing to keep such an important client. Near the window, our protagonist turns and says he has one more thing to take care of. He then says he'd like to buy an item before leaving the premises. Leaving the equipment shop, our hero hails a taxi to his next destination. He then arrives at a large bus station with a clear goal in mind. At that moment, he remembers how money was always a problem in his past life. The boy recalls working several part-time jobs just to pay the rent. He and his sister lived on the bare minimum, and she even got a side job to help out. He remembers his sister's acceptance letter to the Academy of Arts. But even though she was accepted, she ended up tearing the letter right in front of him. The young woman gave up on her own dream, just so she wouldn't become a burden to the family. Back in the present, he worries because his relative should have arrived by now. Suddenly, a familiar voice shouts his name, catching his attention from a distance. The girl complains that he's been told several times to wait at the exit. And this is Sai Yun, his sister, who asks if he got lost again on the way. Our hero freezes, as it's been 7 years since he last saw her. The young woman then asks for help with her suitcase, not noticing her older brother's reaction. She then waves at him and asks why he's just standing there doing nothing. Without a word, the protagonist pulls her into a tight and emotional hug. The girl is completely confused by his sudden and strange behavior. With a smile, he thinks that he has finally found her again after 7 long years. His sister continues to be squished by the boy's strong, tight hug. She then shoves him away forcefully, yelling that he's suffocating her. The girl complains about his behavior and asks if he just got dumped by someone. As they walk together, she starts telling him all about her trip. Our hero watches her with a determined smile on his face, happy to have her back, and with that, he vows that in this new life, he will never let her suffer again. However, a group of bullies is waiting in an alley on their way home. In the alley, The group's leader orders his cronies to lie in wait. With an evil smile, he vows to teach them what happens when they mess with him. One of the cronies gets worried and asks what happens if they go too far. But the leader says the boy's attitude annoyed him and that he deserves a good lesson. He remembers our hero telling him to be less noisy and not to bother him anymore. So he orders his men to rough him up until he can no longer walk. With a sinister smile, the D-rank assassin shows his blade, ready for the attack. Meanwhile, the two siblings walk peacefully, unaware of the danger that awaits them. His sister comments that he's acting strange and asks if it's because of the exam. She jokes that a guy like him wouldn't be in love or anything like that. Then, the young woman encourages him to be strong and reminds him of a piece of advice he himself gave. She even sings a little song about believing in yourself to try and cheer him up. Our hero thinks about how perceptive his relative is for having already noticed his change. He says everything is fine, but she thinks it's just male pride talking. The girl then jokes that he's getting old and building walls around his heart. And so, the two enter the alley where the student council's cronies await them. One of the guys is surprised to see that the target is accompanied by a girl. But the leader thinks this is even better, since there are no cameras in the alley to record anything. Our protagonist senses the hostile aura and realizes he's in an ambush. With a cold gaze, he recognizes the group from the student council preparing to attack. The hero thinks that the cronies actually managed to find them there in that alley. Calmly, he takes a pair of wireless earbuds out of their case. Then he approaches and carefully places the earbuds in his sister's ears. He says he wants to share a song, and she's surprised by her brother's new taste in music. The girl closes her eyes and relaxes as the melody begins to play for her. With his sister completely distracted, our protagonist turns to face the enemies. With his eyes glowing a bluish hue, he prepares for the imminent battle. He then uses his ability to analyze his opponent's ranks and sees that they are weak. Meanwhile, the young woman remains completely immersed in the music, oblivious to all the danger. Holding bats and other weapons, the group of bullies advances on the two of them. He remembers that in his past life, he lost his family and has only just found her again. With his body covered in lightning, he becomes enraged for having his moment ruined. Then he yells that they shouldn't have ruined this reunion and charges with everything he's got. With a devastating punch, he hits the first crony right in the middle of the face. The force of the impact is so absurd that the enemy is sent flying far away, completely protected by the music. His sister notices absolutely nothing of what's happening. Our hero then continues his relentless assault on the other bullies. One of the cronies screams in pain as he's hit head-on by the boy's attack. He moves like a flash of lightning between the enemies, hitting them all with perfect precision. In just a few seconds, all the cronies are defeated and thrown far away without a chance. However, one of the bullies attempts a surprise attack from behind with a bat, but our hero manages to block the blow with one hand without any difficulty. He then counterattacks with a powerful punch, breaking the enemy's defense. The crony then screams in pain as he feels his arm being completely injured. Right after, the protagonist lands a devastating blow right in the middle of his face. With one kick, he sends the other cronies flying through the air effortlessly. The leader is terrified, wondering how the boy can be so absurdly strong. With a glowing yellow aura, our hero prepares to finish them all off right there. He continues the relentless takedown, dropping the enemies with incredible speed. None of the cronies can even lay a finger on our protagonist. Seeing his men defeated, the assassin finally joins the fight with his dagger. He boasts about being one of the best assassins in the entire school and that he won't lose. The bully then yells that the boy doesn't stand a chance and rushes in for the final attack. But our hero easily dodges and lands a precise blow to his head. The force of the impact is so great that the leader is thrown far away. The assassin then flies uncontrollably after taking the devastating punch. Our hero's fist collides with full force against the enemy's chin, and with a final blow, he slams the leader into the ground with immense force. The bully's body falls quickly, with no chance to counter the attack, and so, the leader crashes against the alley floor, completely defeated. Lying on the ground, the leader sees a frightening, upside-down shadow approaching him. The figure then reveals itself to be our hero, who stares at him with glowing red eyes. With a cold stare, he says he had already warned them not to bother him anymore. Then he angrily asks if the bully can't understand human language. The guy cries out in pain and realizes the rank test wasn't wrong after all. Our hero grabs him tightly and tells him to shut up, holding a blade to his face. The bully totally panics, seeing that the boy would actually dare to do that. A terrifying aura surrounds him, and the leader wonders what kind of life he has lived. Our protagonist then tells the guy to pay close attention to his next words. He warns him to never again dare to threaten his sister's safety, and adds that if they ever appear in front of her, one by one, with a deathly glare, he vows that he will make them all disappear without a second's hesitation. The bully remains frozen in fear, with the blade still pressed against his face. After the warning, he tosses the dagger aside and leaves, leaving the guy behind. Meanwhile, the music makes his sister emotional, and she wonders why she wants to cry. The girl feels that even in just a few days, it seems her brother has been through a lot. With that, she thinks that he isn't alone because she has always been by his side. Then she takes off the earbud and yells that he's so annoying for using that kind of trick. Our hero then turns around with a smile and hands her a small gift box. He opens the box, revealing a golden pen, and says it's a gift for Si Young. The girl's jaw drops as she recognizes the state of the Art-Mana holographic pen. She then asks where he got the cash, since that thing costs over 10,000. The young woman thinks the gift is too expensive and wants to return it, but he remembers the past. With his injured hand, he vows that in this new life, he will protect everything about her. Meanwhile, the bullies lying on the ground beg for medical help, without success. Later at home, his sister tests the new pen, drawing with a bright pink light. She is amazed at being able to create holographic images in the air so easily. Our hero eats the noodles, happy as can be, and says her cooking is the best in the world. But the girl scolds him for spending so much money when they still need to pay the rent. He then surprises her by saying he's already paid the entire year's rent in advance. The boy makes up a lame excuse about a business partnership with a friend. His sister doesn't fall for the lie and realizes he's keeping secrets from her now. However, upon taking a closer look, she notices something different in her older brother's face. She realizes it had been a long time since she'd seen such a happy and genuine smile on him. With that, she gets closer and places a hand on his shoulder with a worried look. The young woman then asks him not to push himself too hard, no matter what happens. Our protagonist just smiles and nods to reassure his relative. Elsewhere, someone reports that the bully's leader is severely injured in the hospital, and that not even the best healer could get him fully recovered in less than a month. The council president is surprised that the guy went after our hero and ended up like this. A woman comments that it looks like the bully is going to miss the graduation assessment, but the president says it doesn't matter, as he was just a burden to the team. Suddenly, an older man enters the room to speak with the young master. This is Gong Xuan, the director of employment at the National University for the Awakened. The director says he has confirmed the internal results of the last rank test. He then reveals that our hero is in fact C rank, and the only one with a higher rank than him. The president remains silent, processing the shocking information he just received. The man recalls that his father invited the vice president to attend the graduation. So, in an emergency, he could ask his niece to fill the spot on the team. But the woman sitting in the armchair says he worries too much about these things. The president then faces the director with a confident and determined look. With a smile, he asks if the man really thinks he used his full strength in the test. Then he vows that on the day of the combat assessment, everyone will know the truth. With a cold gaze, he states that he will show everyone who the truly strongest one is. Later that night, our hero finishes his grueling 100-kilometer training. In the shower, he thinks that with the money problem solved, Everything is going well. His next task is to win the 1 million prize from the graduation assessment. That way, he can pay back the loan and honor his contract with the shop manager. Lying in bed, he thinks that there's less than a month until the decisive assessment. With that, he closes his eyes and decides to level up a few more times before the big day. The system then begins to load slowly, preparing to start the simulation. Right after, the gluttony system is finally activated, pulling his consciousness in. And so, our hero is transported back to the lair with the demonic tower. He then approaches the sinister structure to investigate its mysteries. The boy remembers that his weakest class, the Death King, is already mid-C rank, but his strongest class, the Rakshasa, had its potential deemed undetectable. With that, the rank of his other 2 classes still remains a great mystery. Suddenly, the SS rank key of the void appears floating right in front of him. With it in hand, our protagonist uses the artifact to open the tower's gate. The gate then opens, revealing an energy vortex, and he decides to test it. The boy is then sucked into the portal without hesitating for a single second. Upon entering, he is surprised by what he finds on the other side of the mysterious portal.